Imagine you're a caveman. It's 40,000 BC. You wake up shivering. Your throat feels like sandpaper. Your head is absolutely pounding. You have the prehistoric flu. There is no Advil. There is no Dayquil. There is no chicken soup. There is no cozy blanket. There is just a cold cave and a very damp rock. If you go to sleep, a saber-toothed tiger eats you. If you stay awake, you feel like absolute garbage. So what do? How do you survive this? Animals know how to self-medicate. Your ancient ancestors did too. They didn't have medical degrees, but they had incredible instincts. When a wild chimpanzee gets sick, it eats bitter, nasty leaves. Not for food or nutrition, but to kill stomach parasites. Our ancestors watched them closely. They copied the clever animals. They chewed on bitter roots. They swallowed weird plant bark. They learned through trial and a lot of error. Mostly error, to be honest. If the root cured you, you remembered the plant. If the root killed you, your friends avoided that bush. High-stakes medical school, prehistoric style. Let's look at some proof. Archaeologists found a famous skeleton, an ancient Neanderthal man. He lived in modern Spain. He had a massive problem, a horrific throbbing tooth abscess, a hole in his jawbone. The pain was probably blinding. But scientists scanned his teeth. They found something genuinely shocking. Trapped in his dental plaque were traces of poplar bark. Poplar bark contains salicylic acid. For context, that is aspirin, the active ingredient in modern painkillers. This ragged, scruffy caveman was chewing natural aspirin 50,000 years ago. He also consumed penicillium. Yes, the natural antibiotic mold. He was treating his infection with painkillers and antibiotics, long before pharmacies existed. But plants weren't everything. Ancient humans also loved mud, not for fun or games, but for heavy-duty healing. If a caveman got bitten by a nasty prehistoric insect, he ran to the river. He scooped up thick clay. He slathered it everywhere. Clay cools down inflamed skin. It creates a protective barrier. It draws out nasty toxins. Some tribes even ate dirt, specific types of volcanic clay. It coats the stomach lining. It stops severe food poisoning. It sounds incredibly gross, eating dirt for lunch, but it actually saved lives. Now let's get serious. What if your headache wasn't just a normal ache? What if it felt like a demon was inside, clawing at your brain, tearing through your skull? You've tried the aspirin bark. You've tried the wet mud. Nothing is working at all. The pain is getting worse. You go to the shaman, the local tribal spiritual doctor. He looks at your head. He nods his spiky hair. He grabs a sharp stone, and he smiles at you. This is where prehistoric medicine gets completely and utterly insane. He performs a surgery called trepanation, which is a fancy word for drilling a hole directly into your skull with a sharp flint rock, while you are fully awake. No anesthesia whatsoever, just pure, unadulterated grit. They scraped away the bone, slowly and very carefully, until they reached the brain. Why on earth did they do this? They believed pressure was building, or a dark, evil spirit was trapped inside your skull. The hole let it out. It sounds like a murder. It sounds totally fatal. But here is the kicker. The survival rate was massive. Archaeologists have dug up thousands of drilled skulls across the entire globe, and a huge percentage show clear signs of bone healing. That means the cavemen lived. They survived the skull drilling. They walked around for years with a giant wind tunnel built into their heads. The shamans were shockingly precise. They knew exactly how deep they could scrape the bone without nicking the brain lining. Don't try this at home, obviously, but back then it worked. Let's talk about respiratory sickness. When the cave air got too thick and smoky, everyone started coughing violently, lungs hacking up black soot. They didn't have asthma inhalers, so they turned to fumigation. Therapeutic medical smoke circles. They threw aromatic herbs directly onto the campfire, plants like dried henbane or wild mountain mint. The cave filled up with a thick medicinal cloud. They leaned over the fire. They inhaled deeply. The active chemical compounds opened up their airways. It cleared out the congestion. Inhaling smoke to fix lungs sounds totally backwards today, but it cleared the chest. For an ancient human, the ultimate nightmare was a broken leg bone. In the wild, a broken leg usually means you are completely finished. You cannot run from predators, you cannot hunt for food, you cannot keep up with the moving tribe, you get left behind, and you die alone. That was the brutal law of the prehistoric jungle. Unless, of course, your tribe actually cared. And this is where human nature gets beautiful. Anthropologists found a skeleton, a prehistoric human femur, the thick, heavy thigh bone. It had been snapped completely, a horrific, crippling injury. But the bone was healed. It was perfectly fused back into a solid, strong structure. To heal a broken femur, you must stay completely still. For weeks and weeks, someone had to carry him, someone had to feed him, someone had to defend him from wild, hungry beasts. This healed bone is proof of the very first medicine, human empathy and compassion. The tribe saved him. When cavemen got deep cuts from sharp flint tools, they needed a heavy-duty bandage. They couldn't just buy Band-Aids. So they searched the trees. They scraped off green lichen and soft, spongy moss. Moss is a natural marvel. It absorbs blood like crazy, but it gets even better. Certain types of bog moss are naturally highly acidic. This creates an environment where bacteria cannot grow. It prevents horrific wound infections. They packed the moss deep into open, bloody gashes. They tied it with vines. It kept dirt out completely. It kept the wound sterile. What happened when a strange, deadly sickness hit the camp? When one caveman started vomiting and breaking out in spots. They didn't understand germ theory. They didn't know what viruses actually looked like under microscopes. But they understood basic patterns. If you sit near him, you get sick next. So they invented the quarantine. The sick stick figure was moved to a small, isolated cave away from the main camp. Food was left outside, at a safe distance. It sounds incredibly harsh, exiling your sick friend, but it saved the community from total biological wipeout. Medicine wasn't just physical, it was deeply psychological. The tribal shaman knew this. When a patient was sick, the shaman put on a show. He wore wild animal skulls. He painted his stick body with bright white ash. He danced around the fire. He chanted strange, rhythmic songs. He shook rattles made of dried animal teeth. It looked like pure magic. Today we call this the classic placebo effect. If you truly believe the powerful spirit doctor is saving your soul, your brain releases endorphins. Your immune system spikes. The theater healed them. For smaller skin scrapes, they used animal fat. They saved the grease from cooked mammoth meat. They mixed it with ash. Wood ash kills surface bacteria. Animal fat seals the skin. It keeps moisture locked inside. They rubbed the greasy paste over raw, chapped skin. It stopped painful cracking during freezing glacial winters. It smelled absolutely terrible, like rotting barbecue grease. But it protected their skin from the biting elements. Let's talk about stomach aches. If a caveman ate berries that were slightly toxic, his stomach started cramping violently. He needed the poison out, fast. So they used emetics, natural plant induction therapies. They chewed on specific roots that triggered immediate vomiting. Or they swallowed charcoal chunks straight from the campfire. Charcoal binds to toxins inside the digestive tract. It neutralizes the deadly poison before the body absorbs it. We still use activated charcoal in modern emergency rooms today. The cavemen figured it out thousands of years earlier. We have incredible physical proof from a real frozen mummy, Ötzi the Iceman. He lived 5,000 years ago, frozen perfectly in a glacier. When scientists examined his gear, they found a leather strap tied to his tattered outfit. On the strap were 2 pieces of birch polypore fungus. This specific birch fungus contains toxic oils, but those oils are lethal to microscopic whipworm parasites. Ötzi had whipworms in his stomach, and he was carrying the exact natural cure for them. He was walking around with a personalized medical kit. So what did ancient humans do when they got sick? They fought like absolute hell. They used their giant brains. They watched the wild animals. They drilled holes in skulls. They packed wounds with moss. They relied on each other. Without a single modern tool, they kept the species alive. They survived the freezing ice. They survived the deadly plagues. They passed their knowledge down, generation after crazy generation. And the next time you take a tiny aspirin tablet for a bad headache, remember the scruffy stick caveman. chewing on bitter tree bark around a dark campfire, 40,000 years ago. We are still here because they figured it out.